In the previous videos, we have already discussed the different parts of a research paper. We have already discussed what is a research, what is its relevance to the world, and how it helps the world to become a better place. We also have discussed about the different parts of chapter 1. We have discussed the background of the study. We have discussed the contents of the chapter 1. On this video, we are going to learn about the review of related literature, which is a very important component, a very important part in your research paper. Alright, so the title of this video is Learning from Others, or the title of this lesson, this is lesson 8, Learning from Others in Reviewing Related Literature. So why is it important to properly do and write the RRL, or review of related literature? It's important because it gives a great support and evidence to your research problem and the result you are going to have after conducting it. Some of you might think that chapter 2 could be the easiest part of research since you are just going to find relevant literature and studies to put in there. However, yes, it's true, it might be true, but it is not only written just like that. It must have a discussion to make it connected to your research. So it's very important to go and reflect and have a time or allot much time for your review of related literature. Several reasons are behind your choice of a particular topic to research on, as we have discussed it previously on the different videos. Your curiosity or familiarity about an animate creature or inanimate object, such as ideas, philosophies, problems, and others, and its functionality inspire you to discover more about such person or thing or idea or other relevant matters. Whatever experience or background knowledge you have about your chosen topic, it becomes valuable, believable only as regards your acts of providing the validity of truthfulness of your claims about your topic. And if these ideas of yours are related to what the world or other people already know or have already discovered or done about your chosen topic, and you put it all in your review of related literature, then you have a very strong and a very committed research paper. So aligning your thinking with other people's ideas displayed legally and professionally in varied literary works lends credibility to whatever ideas you have about your research study. It's very important to reflect and also to see and look on other people's ideas. And these ideas are not just ideas that are in the minds of people. These ideas are being put into words and even published as a research paper. Lesson 8 is review of related literature, or what we call RRL. It is the actual name that you can find in your manuscript. When I talk about manuscript, it's your actual research paper, right? But it also has the word studies in it. Okay, so in your introduction, you could say review of in the introduction of your RRL or chapter 2, you can say review of related literature and studies. All right, which means that it is about different literatures and studies. So, what do we mean by literature and what do we mean by studies, and how do they differ with one another? Literature, it includes textbooks, newspapers, magazines, journals and manuals which must be relevant to the research being written. This can be different sources you can get aside from published or unpublished researches. You can actually find a lot of this on the internet when I talk about literature. However, what do I mean by studies? Studies are researches that are published or unpublished. So these are researches which are relevant to your own research. So you cannot just only get any research or any study lang from the internet or from other sources that is not relevant to your own study. So it must be connected with one another for you to have a better claim and a better grasp and a better proof of your own research. So let's go to the definition of RRL. RRL is an important component of research regardless of the type of research, be it qualitative or quantitative research. You spend time and effort in reviewing related literature. Reviewing related literature is one major activity in research that makes you examine or study again concepts or ideas related to your research that people managed to publish in books, journals, or other reading materials in the past. So RRL is a very important aspect of your research because so you allot more time in making it. You study a lot of relevant study to your research and you try to find out relevance and connection to your research. What are some purposes of RRL? First, to find out the connection of your research to the current conditions or situations of the world. So this is how other piece of writing help your own research to make it more valid and to make it more reliable. Know more about theories or concepts underlying your research and to learn from them with respect to your own research study. So when we talk about theories or concepts, these are ideas and theories. These are ideas which are not proven to be true but are accepted to be true. Okay? So amo na class ang ginatawag natin ng mga theories. So these are mga theories. For example, in seamanship, or for example, in if you have a study about economic status of a person, so you can actually use the theories and concepts of Karl Marx, okay, for that matter. Ang iyang mga gin-propose ng mga ideas, iyang gin-propose ng mga theories and everything else, you can actually use it and connect it to your own research. Third one, to discover the relation of your research with previous research studies. So it's very important that you state previous researches because it can be an anchor to how your study would go and to how your research will be presented, right? So it's a point of reference as well. Next, obtain information on the accuracy or relevance of your research questions. So your research questions will only be proven to be true and related and relevant if there are also other ideas and related literature that can be connected and can actually be based with other researches. Familiarize yourself with technical terms related to your research. There are times that you will encounter some difficult terms, words, jargons, for example, in your research. And by reading a lot of source resources and references, you enlighten your mind with a lot of ideas and a lot of things. And along the way, you you will have a better grasp and a better understanding of your research. That is why review of related literature is very important because it helps you to better understand and to better present your research. Next, the two basic methods of reviewing related literature, especially in quantitative research. So there are there are basic methods, two basic methods. One is traditional and number two is systematic review. You just have to understand and to remember that traditional is for qualitative research and systematic is for quantitative research. So basically, you are going to use quantitative research because that is the type of research that you are required to do for senior high school. What is traditional review? Systematic review, a question-driven methodology, is used by quantitative researchers who begin their research work by asking questions. One big question that states the main problem of the research, and a set of sub-questions that deal with specific aspects of the research. Systematic review. Qualitative research likewise begins with research questions, but these are open-ended and subjective questions, in contrast to quantitative research questions that aim at obtaining exact, specific, and objective answers whose origin or sources are easy to trace. So there are different steps in conducting a systematic review. First, clarifying the research question. So you cannot proceed to systematic review if you don't have a clear understanding and a clear presentation of your research question. So you really have to clarify and present your research question the way that it might be understandable to your readers. Number two, planning the research based on your understanding of the research questions. So before you conduct any research and before you write any research, you have a plan. And actually, the entire paper that you are going to present or that you are writing is actually a blueprint or a plan of your research. Searching for literature. So this is where RRL might come into the picture. Searching for literature. Number four, listing criteria for considering the values of written works. Number five, evaluating the quality of previous research studies. So you don't need to just get any studies lang that you can find on the internet, but you also have to read it and know its relation to your research. Summarizing the various forms of knowledge collected. So obtaining results of the review of related literature by means of systematic review that takes place in a step-by-step method is a scientific way of conducting a re-examination of reading materials that have close connection with your research. Adopting a systematic review of related literature prevents you from being biased in dealing with the varied form of literature. The adherence of systematic review to scientific method or its or it is or its basis to scientific method makes it the apt or the appropriate RRL method for quantitative research, that likewise method of looking into the truthfulness of something. Next, a good review is not just a chronological inventory. It is this does not simply list all the papers in the order in which they were published. A thematic organization is more effective. So you simply just do not list down all the literatures or sources you have gathered depending on their time frame. Abi, nauna siya, naging publish, kay 2006 siya, then 2007, 2008, no. But you can actually put it put in your review of literature according to their themes or according to their content or what they mean. Okay, so they have themes, they have kumbaga to topical review. So depending on the type of topic, on how you arrange your RRL, not just based on the order or chronological date of these literatures or resources. Number 14, or the next slide, a good rule of thumb is to use sources published in the past 10 years for research in the arts, humanities, literature, and history. So, class, uh, make sure that you have to remember that the resources or the literatures that you are going to find out and you're going to include in your research paper will all will all should fall under the last 10 years. Okay? So we are 2021. So basically, dapat ang makita nyo ng mga resources, ang ilang mga date should be from 2011 onwards. Alright? However, there are times that you cannot really find resources or references or literatures which are in the 10-year frame of your study. So you will be given the chance or the opportunity to at least or to include literatures which might be beyond or earlier than 10 years. Okay, so you can use 2010, 2009, yes, or even earlier. How to write your RRL? You can follow these 4 steps. To facilitate the discussion on how to write the RRL, we can summarize the discussion on how to write it using these 4 parts. These are survey, synthesis, analysis, and presentation. So the next slides, we are going to discuss these 4 steps. The first one, survey. You read different resources about your study. Before any writing can be done, researchers need to read, and read. It's very important to read. This is how we survey. This is to establish the relevance of the materials that we are going to use and if they are genuinely related and relevant to the research that we are writing. So whether it is literature, which includes textbooks, newspapers, magazines, journals, and manuals or studies, or we call it researches, for us to establish the connection of what we are reading to the content of our research, we really need to religiously read. Okay, religiously read. It means that we are going to read by heart, okay, and understand what we are reading, the contents and ideas behind the literature that we are going to use. It's very important to read. Next one, synthesis. Or number 2, the number 2 step. Establish the relevance of the materials that we are going to use if they are genuinely related and relevant to the research that we are writing. So the second stage of writing the RRL is what we call synthesis. This is the combination of 2 ideas, okay? The survey and of course the synthesis. In this case, the idea contained in the research that you're doing, the objective of your research, what you want to establish in your research, and the other part would be the idea behind the reference that you're using. So establishing the connection and the relevance of these 2 ideas would solidify the foundation of your research in the area of the argument that there is really a need to conduct the research. You should not only cite or quote the references that you have gathered using the name of the author and the idea that they have, but you should also state, this is in writing your RRL, you're also going to state and discuss the learnings and ideas you have created and established from that reference. So how do you put this in text? Simply by following the appropriate in-text citation style of your choice. Basically, it is in APA format, but it differs according to the required style of a school or an institution. However, if you're going to use APA format, you can do it by stating the name of the author, then the year, then you can already state the idea and the details of that corresponding reference. Analysis. Identification of gaps or the limitation of your study. After synthesizing the references, whether whether uh, whether it be literature or studies, when you say analysis, this includes the identification of gaps or the limitation of your study in relation to the previous element, which is synthesis. So after going through the process of synthesizing, which is the second element, which of course includes citing, reflecting all of the references that you were able to go through in the analysis stage, you now try to present an idea wherein you establish areas that were not covered by the previous references that you have read. So you may discuss an area where it was not discussed in the research that you have made or that you have studied. This is how you fill in the gaps your study wherein your study this particular gap wherein in your own study this particular gap will be addressed. Kumbaga, gin-analyze mo imo nga study, ang study sang iban, kag gin-relate mo na ang mga nakita mo nga gaps sa iban nga study, gin-relate mo sa imo own nga research, kag amo na ang gin-discuss mo. So that is the analysis stage. Third, the fourth one is the presentation. So presentation, under this element, we have to organize the references. So the word here is organization. Organization must utilize deductive method of writing. In this manner, you can start from general information to a much more specific details of your reference. So the structure of RRL. This is the basic form of an RRL that you can actually utilize in your research. Start writing the literature review by first writing an introduction. An introduction is where you cite and present the study. So there in your introduction, you cite and present your study and why is there a need to conduct that study. And by the way, class, in RRL, you can actually put there your theoretical framework. Theoretical framework. Theoretical framework could actually be part of chapter 1, but in some studies or in some researches, it might be in the chapter 2. Okay, so you have the freedom to put it in chapter 2. Okay, so introduction, you just cite and present your study. Then the main body is where you summarize and synthesizes the sources to your study. So this is where the body of your RRL comes in. Okay, this is where you sort and summarize each topic or each theme that you'd like to discuss in your RRL. Then the third one is the conclusion. The function of your paper's conclusion is to restate the main argument or your main research problem. It reminds the reader of the strengths of your main arguments and reiterates the most important evidence supporting those arguments. Let's go to the meta-analysis in quantitative research. Meta-analysis is a kind of review of related literature in which you re-examine and combine the results of two or more statistical studies for coming out with a grand total to indicate stronger effects of the research outcome. Putting the results together and making them appear as one result work to strengthen whatever impact the independent variable has on the dependent variable. So meta-analysis helps in guaranteeing the precision of the measuring method used in the quantitative research. However, this merging of statistical results is not applicable to all quantitative research studies. In-text citation and referencing styles. All reading materials related to your research that you intend to review or re-examine offer you concepts, ideas, or information belonging to other people. Having honesty, respect, or courtesy to the owners of these varied forms of knowledge, as well as gratefulness for their valuable contribution to the field or to the body of knowledge, you see to it that the names of these idea owners or authors appear in the appropriate section of your research paper. So you really make it a point that you mention the name of the author and the date that they have formulated that idea or that research. So we have in-text citation and referencing styles. Other people's ideas incorporated in the central section or main body of your paper are to be cited or referred to the true owners of borrowed ideas. Referring to authors within the main body of the paper is called citation or in-text citation. Class ang citation or in-text citation, amo ni sila class ang makita mo nga mga words inside your discussion. For example, na bala, abi naghambal ka, nag-claim ka abi that seamanship is the most preferred course or career among the Ilonggos. So kay sino mo naging kuha nga idea nga seamanship is the most preferred course among Ilonggos. Kay sino mo naging kuha? So if na-identify mo ang author sang idea nga na, kag sang research nga napamatud-an niya na kasi seamanship gid ang most preferred nga course or career sa mga Ilonggo, kuwaod mo na iya ngalan class kag ang date kung saan niya ginhambal na or kinkandak inang study na kag amo nang ibutang mga in-text citation. For example, seamanship is the most preferred career among the Ilonggos, period. How to put in-text citation. Close and open parentheses. Then inside the parentheses, you put, for example, ang nakadiscover sina Bahande, Bahande, 2010, for example. Then close parentheses. So that is what we call an in-text citation. Right? So I hope that you have, basta makita nyo na class, usually na siya naka-close and open parentheses na siya. So that's an in-text citation. Or you can just see sometimes according to, diba? According to based on the study of nan. Basta may mga amuna class, that is what we call in-text citation. Alright? And at the end of the paper, it is called bibliography or reference. So for example, si Stephen Tubing, for example, si Bahande Tubing ang naghatag or nag-create sang idea nga seamanship ang most preferred nga course among the Ilonggos, si Bahande Tubing. So ang libro or ang study nga ginkandak ni Bahandi, ibutang mo na class sa pinakalikod sa imong research paper. So dito makita sa reference nga na dito mo na dito state ang complete nga pangalan sang study, ang year, ang author, right? Ipamutang mo ina dito class. So dito naman sa likod ang ginatawag ng references or bibliography. Okay, so basta tandaan niyo lang, ng in-text citation, makita mismo sa text, sa discussion, sa research mo, sa sulod sa research mo mismo. Ang references and bibliography, makita na sa likod. Right? Kung diin, dito naging pambutang ang mga complete nga mga pangalan sang mga study, naging state mo sa imo in-text citation. Alright? Next, in-text citation and referencing styles. So there are usually ginagamit natin ng mga in-text citation man are mga APA referencing style man lang. Right? The two most commonly used referencing styles are first the MLA or what we call Modern Language Association nga style or APA, or American Psychological Association. APA is the most and the preferred referencing style na ginagamit. Alright? So, sa inyong study, dapat APA kita. The following table shows you how these two referencing styles differ in some aspects. Kung aspect, yeah, you just have to read it. We have different styles when writing the author's name, when writing the title of the reading material, and when writing the copyright date. You can actually pause on this part of this video and read it, read the differences between the two. Alright, so we proceed. Examples of APA referencing style. Actual formats may vary due to website format. So there are some differences, especially on the different offerings and the processes of some websites. Number one, citation or in-text citation. Okay, so these are some examples of how you on how you are going to put your citation or in-text citation. So may ara kita lo pena, oh. Example sina. All right. You just have to read it and you can actually use this on your research. Next, bibliography or references. If one author lang siya, you can follow this one. If two authors, you can follow this one. If three authors, list down the names in the order they appear in the title page. Okay? So these, ginabutan ko ay mga bibliography naman or mga references nga dito makita sa likod. Alright? Sa likod sa inyong research paper, kay may ara na sila allotted nga page only for the reference. Ari naman yang in-text, as what I've said, sa sulod sa inyong mismo nga text. If three authors, you follow this example. There are three or more authors, you follow this example. Anonymous author. If the authorship of a work is known but not revealed in the title page, the name is given in brackets. Right? So you can follow this one. There are also other categories that APA reference style is applicable. These are the followings. Okay? Mga editor, translator, compiler with an author, organization, association, or corporation as author, no ascertainable publication facts, popular magazines, newspapers, theses, dissertations, and other unpublished works, slides and films, video cassettes, materials through computers. So we are going to focus more on the materials through computers because I understand that you cannot go to library as of this moment because libraries are restricted due to COVID or due to this crisis. So basically, the only literatures that you can get are from the internet, right? So it's very important that you know how to cite or how to put references, especially if the literatures or the studies that you have gathered are from online sources. Materials through computers. Number one, signed article in a magazine. So you can actually follow this one. Unsigned article in a magazine, you can follow this format or this structure. Article in journal, linguistic competence, using that one. Article in newspaper, you can actually use this one if it has an author. An editorial, you can actually follow this one. Online books, there will be a lot of books that you're going to read for your research. So these are examples of it. From CD or RM diskette, for example, so you can follow this one, right? So, ethical standards in literature review. Nowadays, with the advent of modern technology causing the emergence of varied electronic communication devices and online sources of information, collecting data happens easily and speedily. So before, without computers before and without the advent of technology, you just really need to go to a library or any bookshop in which you need to search different resources like books and journals, which are in physical form, to get information for your research study. But today, because of the advent of technology, we can actually get data and everything else coming from the internet. Okay, with just one click, you just read the article in the internet, then you can have already a literature that you can include in your RRL. The ethical way of literature writing tells you to acknowledge the owners of borrowed ideas and put quotation marks around copied words from books or articles. Basically, not all the time that you put quotation marks, but you just need to put in-text citation on the text or the discussion or the words that you have gotten from other resources. Now, the next part of the video is a tip, is a video which contains the tips that you can follow for you to make your RRL easily and effectively. So please watch the video because that would greatly help you in making your RRL. The next videos the next lesson that we are going to focus on is about conceptual framework, which is lesson 9. So I hope that you still need that you are going to watch it. You still need to watch it because that's going to be a great or essential part of your research. All right. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching, everybody. I hope that you learned something today from the video that I have made. Thank you and goodbye.
Hey guys! Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Isa na yata sa pinakamahirap na parte ng pagiging estudyante ay ang paggawa ng thesis. At isa na rin yata sa pinakamahirap sa paggawa ng thesis ay ang paggawa ng RRL o yung Review of Related Literature or Review of Related Literature and Studies. Pero ang tanong, kaya ba talagang matapos ang RRL sa loob lang ng isang gabi? Base sa personal experience ko, masasabi ko na kaya. Kung gusto mo malaman kung paano, just keep on watching. Pero bago natin ito ituloy, make sure na nakalike ka na sa video natin at nakasubscribe ka na rin sa channel natin at pindutin mo na rin ang notification bell para updated ka kapag may bago tayong video. I decided to share this video kasi alam ko na maraming mga estudyante ang nahihirapan sa paggawa ng RRL at kahit ako nahihirapan din naman. Pero nakatulong sa akin ng malaki ang techniques na pag-uusapan natin sa video na ito para maging successful tayo sa paggawa ng RRL. And I've been using these techniques for more than 5 years at nakagawa na rin ako ng I think 7 or 8 na mga thesis at lagi kong ina-apply yung technique na to at masasabi ko na naging effective kasi nagiging successful ang mga thesis namin at nakakakuha din ng good grades ang manuscript. Okay, so let's start. Pag-usapan na natin kung paano natin mabilis o matatapos ang isang RRL sa loob lang ng isang gabi. Siyempre, kapag gagawa ka na ng RRL, meron ka ng topic at meron ka na ring title. So for example, ang title natin is Advantages of TikTok to Grade 10 Students sa School Nyo. Okay? So hindi yun yung mismong title kasi di ba yung title pinapaganda natin. So halimbawa yun lang yung mismong topic ng research nyo. Advantages of TikTok. So ngayon, kung gagawin mo na yung RRL, mag-isip ka agad, ito yung unang step, mag-isip ka agad ng 5 main points. Okay, maglista ka agad ng 5 main points na related sa topic mo. For example, ang una nating main point, what is TikTok? Okay, related yon sa topic mo. Ang pangalawa natin, pwedeng how popular is TikTok sa mundo? Ang pangatlo nating point, pwedeng how popular is TikTok sa Pilipinas? Diba? O kaya naman, sa pang-apat natin, pwede nating ilagay yung point na famous TikTokers. Okay, pwede rin yon kasi related siya sa topic mo. At yung sa pang-limang point, pwede natin ilagay, for example, yung TikTok issues. Yung mga issue regarding sa TikTok. So, dun sa RRL mo, syempre, hindi mo pwedeng i-discuss na dun kaagad yung advantages ng TikTok. Kasi yun nga yung purpose mo kung ba't ka gagawa ng research. So, ang ilalagay mo lang sa RRL ay yung mga topics na nakapalibot dun sa main topic mo, which is TikTok, yung nailistahan natin na 5 points. At actually, papahapiwan din yung advantages of TikTok dun sa point number 4 natin, which is yung famous TikTokers. Kasi diba, isa rin sa advantages ng paggamit ng TikTok, nagiging famous at nagkakaroon din ng opportunity sa iba't ibang klase ng buhay, diba? So, yun. Ngayon, kapag nakapaglista ka na ng 5 main points, ang next na step na gagawin mo is maglista ka ng 3 sub-points per main point. Okay? Sa bawat isang main point, maglilista ka ng 3 sub-points. For example, dun sa una nating point, yung what is TikTok. Pwede ka maglista dun ng una, definition of TikTok. Pangalawa, origin of TikTok. At pangatlo, yung how to use, kung paano gamitin ang TikTok. So, nakapaglista ka na ng 3 sub-points dun sa main points. So, ganun din ang gagawin mo sa 4 na points. So, magiging parang ganito yung outline ng RRL. Yan. Sa pangalawang point, may 3 kang sub-points. Yung how popular yung TikTok sa mundo, in general, sa mundo. Pangalawa, sa Asia. Pwede yun yung pangalawang point mo. O kaya naman, sa pangatlo, yung isang specific na country. O kaya naman sa Southeast Asia. Kung gaano ka-popular yung TikTok. Sa pangatlo naman, pwedeng, dun sa pangatlo nating point sa how popular sa Pilipinas, ang 3 points natin dyan, sa general din, in general sa Pilipinas, kung gaano ka-popular ang TikTok sa teenagers at sa adult. Sa pang-apat naman, yung famous TikTokers, meron tayo dyang P1, P2, and P3. Ibig sabihin, person 1, person 2, or person 3. 3 persons na naging famous dahil sa TikTok. At dun sa panglima natin, yung TikTok issues, meron tayong 3 dyan na sinulat. For example, yung security threat, diba? Kasi isa rin sa mga issues sa TikTok. Yung banning ng TikTok sa Amerika, pwede rin doon idagdag. At yung pangatlo, yung some disadvantages na iba pa ng TikTok. Okay, so meron ka na ngayon outline sa paggawa ng RRL. Ngayon, aanhin mo yung outline na yan. Ito ang tatandaan natin. Yung ating 5 main points na nilista, those will be our subtitles. Okay? Hindi pa yun yung mismong subtitles ng RRL kasi di ba pinapaganda natin yung mismong title, yung mismong subtitle. Pero yun yung topic sa bawat subtitle. So kung meron kang 5 na ilista na main points, meron kang 5 subtitles agad-agad. Ngayon, yun namang 3 subpoints sa bawat main points, yun naman yung magsisilbing points sa bawat paragraph. So, ibig sabihin, 1 subpoint, 1 paragraph. Kaya kung meron kang 3 subpoints sa isang main point, ibig sabihin nun, meron kang at least 3 paragraphs sa bawat subtitle. Bukod pa doon, kung gusto mong lagyan ng introduction yung subtitle at kung gusto mo ring lagyan ng conclusion. Okay? So, paano natin mabilis yun na magagawa? Siyempre, iiksian lang din natin yung mga paragraph. Sa isang paragraph, ang ideal na ay 3 to 5 sentences. Sapat na yon. At, kapag gumawa din tayo ng paragraph, isang point, or isang subpoint, or isang paragraph, kailangan meron dong isang reference. Para madali. Kasi pag may reference ka, mas madali. Kasi magpa-paraphrase ka na lang, diba? Kaya ibig sabihin, kung meron kang 15 subpoints, meron kang 15 paragraphs, meron ka kaagad 15 references. Wow! Okay? So, ganito lang ang tatandaan natin. Ulitin lang natin. 5 main points is equal to 5 subtitles. Subpoints, or 1 subpoint, is equal to 1 paragraph. And 1 paragraph is equal to 1 reference. Kung susundin natin yung structure na yan, na technique na yan sa paggawa ng RRL, yung isang RRL natin na merong 5 subtitles, na merong 3 paragraphs each, kung ang format nyo ay Times New Roman 12 at double spacing, meron ka na agad dyan at least 5 pages para sa RRL. Sapat na yun para sa isang RRL. Lalo na kung pang high school yan, or pang senior high school, or junior high school. Okay, so yun. Ganun lang kasimple yung gumawa ng RRL. Diba? Madali lang siya. Kailangan lang talagang magtiyagaan. Pero kung susundin pa natin yan, matatapos natin ng isang gabi? Oo, kaya nating matapos. Kaya lang, nahihirapan tayo, lalo na kung mag-isa. Pero kung hahati-hatiin natin yan sa bawat groupmates, for example, meron 5 kayo sa grupo, kasi isang tao, isang subtitle. At ang isang subtitle, meron lang naman siyang 3 paragraph. At sa isang paragraph, meron lang 3 to 5 sentences. So, lumalagay na isang tao, gagawa lang siya ng 15 sentences. Diba? Kayang matapos kahit wala pang isang oras. Oh. Kaya, magiging madali na lang talaga at mabilis na matatapos yung RRL. Ngayon, kung mag-isa ka naman sa paggawa ng RRL, pwede mong gawin yun din ng isang gabi, pwede mo rin naman yun gawin ng hati-hati. For example, sa day 1, isang subtitle, day 2, isang subtitle, hanggang sa matapos mo na yun na hindi ka nahihirapan. So, ayun. Ganun lang kasimple ang paggawa ng RRL. Kaya kung nakatulong po sa inyo ang video na ito, don't forget to press the like button and the share button. I-share nyo po yan sa friends nyo, sa classmates nyo, or i-share nyo rin siya sa social media accounts nyo para mas maraming mga estudyante ang makakita at makapanood at mas marami tayong mga estudyante na matulungan sa paggawa ng RRL. Dahil ang sabi nga, sharing is caring. Maraming salamat po ulit sa panonood ng ating video. See you on my next video.